At Southampton, Ralph Hasenhüttl. For Ralph Hasenhüttl, life goes on. Last night, they're at Goodison and they lose by a single goal to nil. Everton moved to within touching distance of the top four as a result of that. But for Southampton, Simon, 1 win in 14 for them. Yep. 4 draws, 10 losses in that period. Yep. And of course, we know, it's a matter of public record, couple of 9 against in one game.
Yeah. And no bounce back from either. What does this tell us about Ralph Hasenhüttl and where he's at right now? In other words, is his jacket, as it's often said, on a shaky peg? I don't know if it is. I mean, ultimately, the next result will determine how much pressure he's under, because if the other side's beneath him get points and he doesn't in the next game, he'll be right back into the mix. They've got 30 points now, I think, so they're a little way away from being really challenged, but they're in such a period of decline. A lot of people took real exception to the observations I made when he sat crying on the side of the pitch when they beat Liverpool, and all these binary twits that go on Twitter talking about the fact it's mental health and so forth. I wasn't making that point. My point was, when you lead a dressing room, knowing the culture of footballers, if you give them an insight into something that can be conceived as a weakness, they'll turn it into a weakness. Now, it's difficult for me to say that I'm right, but when you've not won a game, you were outstanding against Liverpool, and I know Liverpool at that time were probably on the eye of the storm that we now see, right? But when you've not won a game, you've lost 8 of the last 9 games. After that particular set of results, something's changed in that dressing room once that makeup of players. I know they've gone and played Wolves in the FA Cup and then immediately played in the league and beat them in the FA Cup, lost in the league. I know they played Arsenal in the FA Cup, beat them in the Cup, immediately next game by coincidence lost in the league. But the FA Cup's not their bread and butter. The league is. And if you're led to believe that Southampton are in discussions to sell that football club, or the owners are currently desperate to get out of it, being racked into a relegation battle is not going to help you. And I would not suspect, if this form continues much longer, that his job is any safer than a manager that's losing 8, 9, 10 games in a row should be.
Yeah,
because
but you think there and then, when he was crying, he broke down after they beat Liverpool. You think there and then, I think he opened himself up to a sense of vulnerability that could be exploited at a later stage.
I listened to the pile-on that I got from a group of people, some of them footballers as well, saying what an awful attitude to have. And I spoke to Danny Murphy about it as a footballer. I said, do you think that I'm wrong in this respect, that players will see this in a certain way? He said, no, I don't think you're wrong. I think ultimately the culture of football is a certain respect. And emotion, there's nothing wrong with emotion, but there's also something wrong with showing it in a fashion that is not necessary. And with my view, mental health care, and all, I understand all that, and people can talk about what's going on in his background and his family. Someone in his family had COVID, so on and so forth. I was talking about the pure business of football, and here we are. And you know what, sod's law, he'll probably win on Saturday now, but here we are 9 games later, and they have not won a league game directly relational to the performance against Liverpool. And I think those things are inextricably indexed. I think players are liberty takers. I think they explore opportunities for whatever reason. They were all on television telling you how wonderful it is to see his emotion. Danny Ings, who won't sign a contract with a club, right, and so on and so forth. Yet here we are now. Southampton, that was a side. I mean, I was talking about this side at the beginning of the season saying, wow, how good do they look? Well, how good do they look now?
Oh, they were top in November.
They look brilliant.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
They played Newcastle in the league game, and they just looked electric. And I know that there's been a few players in and out, but they've not lost their core players. They haven't lost the spine of their team. They haven't lost the backbone of the team. They haven't lost their goal scorers. Theo Walcott's injured. I assume that's why he's not playing. But by the same token, they've still got the fundamental basis of their team. How do you odds 9 games? And of course now, on will come the binary squad of Twitter people saying, back to mental health, how could you be so unsympathetic towards somebody crying? I just think the culture of football has a certain perspective, and dressing rooms operate in a certain way, and I hope the Southampton don't get relegated, but I think they're going to be drawn into it.
Do you regret saying that in any way?
No.
That you thought he was behaving in a manner that he shouldn't?
No, I don't think he should behave in any which manner he thinks, and I should be able to observe on it in any which way I think, without some Burks coming up with their opinion about why it's wrong for me to have said that. I wasn't questioning the emotivity of the man's substance in the world. I was questioning the wiseness of showing certain things to certain people, specifically the football industry. Because unless you've worked in the football industry, you don't know how callous it is, you don't know how careless it is, and you don't know how shallow it can be. I, unfortunately, do.
He's come back from the brink before, though.
Yeah, no, he came...
He's got something in him.
No, he came back from a 9-0 tonking by Leicester, and within a very short space of time, he had that team focusing on readdressing it. I'm not seeing the same response from that team, because they got beat again 9-0, obviously, hence the reason why we're discussing it. And what I saw was his redemption, beyond all the performance this season, was the going back to Leicester a couple of months later and turning Leicester over. I thought that was outstanding. That was your moment where you redeemed yourself, not a Dumb and Dumber moment where you redeemed yourself, but a real redemption. In this instance, they're not getting much better. They were turgid last night. You know, Everton didn't have to beat very much, and they're getting beat by sides around them like Newcastle, and that cannot be a good sign.